Chris, since you were the first person to introduce yourself and maybe tell us why this was important to you. And we'll do that quickly and hoping that our speakers will be there, be here by the time we finish this.
Lisa, thanks. So I'm Chris Alangi, and I'm the program director at Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Upstate. And this collaborative is hugely important for us because we're mostly trying to get volunteers. That's where we need to hit our recruitment pretty hard, but we'll always take more kids. And I sort of started, I guess, a push or an initiative within our own organization to work more collaboratively with other mentoring organizations across Greenville County. So that's what excited me most about this group. So instead of having sort of that tunnel vision, you know, how can we get more volunteers? Our program isn't always right for all volunteers, and it's not always right for all of our kids. So I think amazing from a customer service standpoint, especially serving all of our kids, that we might say, okay, we may not be right for you for whatever reason, but call this person at this agency, and here's a particular phone number. So we're still serving that child, even though they're not with us, which we'd prefer. We're still reaching that child and helping that family.
Grace, will you just call on the next person, please?
Absolutely. Is it Shanada? Sorry, Shanada? Did I say it right?
You had it correct. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm Shanada McFadden. I'm currently with the Phoenix Center. Like Alicia mentioned earlier, I was running a pilot program at the Juvenile Detention Facility where I did groups as well as individual sessions for the juveniles that were detained there. And one thing that Mark Caligaris and I discovered was that a lot of them were missing one big piece, which was mentoring. So he, did his thing as far as getting mentoring collaboratives started, which I thought was awesome because it's something our youth really need. So I continue to work at the Phoenix Center doing outreach, just trying to find other organizations that are interested and have the ability to serve our youth, and still looking for mentors for kids that are needing individual sessions or group sessions. So just having a mentor to work alongside is something that, we're still looking for. So good to see everyone this morning. And next, I'm coming to her, Ms. Davis.
Good to see you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Yvonne Davis. I'm with the Greenville City Police Department, the Gravity Program, which stands for Gang Reduction and Violence Intervention Targeting Youth. I actually feel like I am a consumer. I'm coming to this organization, or I joined this organization because you talk about mentors, and we get our mentors from Lead Collective. Kenny, I often switch from Lead to Reach to Elias. But Kenny knows the organization that Kenny's with. We go to Kenny for the mentors. My pastor says that you can't be your best self by yourself. So we all need people to walk with us and to walk forward. And I often think of gangs, or the OGs of these gangs. They are mentoring the youth. It's just they're headed in the wrong direction. So we are here to change the direction, to change mine, and ultimately to change lives. So that's why I joined the table, because you are the connection that we need in order to speak into the lives of the youth or participants of the Gravity Program. I'm glad to be here. And I will call on Natalie. Hey, Natalie. You just popped up, so.
Hey guys, sorry, I popped in late, so someone will tell me the prompt. I'm happy to answer it.
Absolutely. To introduce yourself and why the Mentoring Collaborative is, why you joined and why you're a part. Welcome, Natalie.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Natalie. I'm the director of Mentor Upstate. Mentor Upstate works with schools in Greenville County and community members. So we connect community members and work with churches and Rotary groups and just volunteers at the school. They come from a variety of different places, and we connect them with students. We don't connect them. We help them get connected with the school. The school connects them to students in their school that could use a mentor. And so the collaborative, I think, has great value to Mentor Upstate because Mentor Upstate's been around a long time. There's some name recognition. If you Google mentoring in Greenville County, I think it's one of the first things that pops up. So we get tons of inquiries that are things that don't fit within our program. And so one of my greatest challenges in my job is when someone will say, hi, I'd like a mentor for my child. Well, if they're not connected to a school in Greenville County, that's not really what we do. And so being able to say, hey, we're part of this larger thing, or we'll have mentors that'll hear about it and they'll attend a training and they'll say, I can't do lunch. Well, also, I think it's really beneficial to say, so maybe our program isn't the best fit, but, let me direct you to all these other organizations that are doing the same thing. And so I just think that there's great value in us all kind of working together. So in addition to my role at Mentor Upstate, I'm finishing up a degree in clinical mental health counseling. And it's actually why I have to pop on late to these meetings. I have a class, it's right before this. And so I think that there is great value. And to me, I don't see these as separate things, but that they overlap just in my what I'm learning as I work with clients, and just some of the mentoring is not counseling. It's not the same thing, but there's some kind of basic skills that overlap that I think are really beneficial that mentors could use. And so I think that's helpful, not just for the organization I'm with, but also, all of these others. So am I supposed to call on someone? Unfortunately, I don't know who's gone. So Rebecca, I see your name. Have you gone?
No, I can go. Hey, I'm Rebecca Hayes. I work with Girl Up Greenville as the middle school program coordinator, and we are a part of the Mentor Collaborative because we luckily have a lot of people who want to be mentors, and that's so great. I think just utilizing them in the best way and how to use mentors within our organization is a whole nother ballgame. And so I love to hear how you guys are doing that and just the tools and ways that we could be doing that better. So thank y'all. Tiffany, if you wanted to go, we're just introducing ourselves and then saying why we're a part of Mentor Collaborative.
Awesome. Absolutely, Rebecca. Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tiffany Crooks, and I am a community engagement manager with Unite Us. I live here in Greenville. I support the upstate region, specifically for Unite Us, with different organizations, nonprofits and collaboratives that are working to provide different services and resources to the community at large. And I have been invited to this meeting by Ms. Alicia. I've had the pleasure of meeting, I think, maybe a few of you a couple weeks back, but I'm so happy to be here again today. And I also don't know who has gone and who has not, so I'll just pass it off to anyone who would like to share.
Hi, everyone. Edward here with On Track Greenville. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So I'm the executive director for On Track Greenville. Our initiative is aimed at keeping kids on track to graduate from high school. We primarily serve the White Horse Road community, so the highest poverty schools in Greenville County: Berea, Lakeview, Tanglewood Middle Schools, Greenville Early College, Carolina, Berea High, and then a lot of their feeder schools as well. So you talk about Cherrydale, Monterview, Alexander, Duncan Chapel, and so forth. We're moving kind of back into that elementary lane a little bit. We provide wraparound services for students to keep them on track, like healthcare through Prisma Health and putting nurse practitioners in buildings, facilitators in each of the schools as well to make sure kids are getting matched to the appropriate interventions, and we're monitoring data. Communities and school specialists that case manage kids in schools that are flagging with the most critical and complex challenges. And then family support, so family community resource fairs, basic needs, utility assistance, rental assistance, and so forth at those schools. Anything we can do to keep kids on track. The On Track program itself is in every single Greenville County schools where kids are flagging all the time, but we at the United Way provide direct supports to those schools, of course, that face the most challenges in those SIT schools and those feeder schools. One of the things that has occurred I've been in this role for 1.5 years. I was principal at one of those schools prior to this at Tanglewood Middle School. One of the things that I know is that mentoring is powerful. That's where Alicia and I connected. When I was principal at Tanglewood, she came around with Goodwill Good Guides. Again, I say this every meeting, I think, that Goodwill Good Guides is one of the strongest programs that I've ever taken part of. It was very structured. It provided the correct resources, the appropriate notifications for me as a mentor to ensure I was engaging with my mentees. I'm still connected with those students, 4 or 5 years later. They're doing well. That's another story. Well, that's another story. I know the power of a good mentor. I've been a part of good mentoring programs as both a mentee and a mentor. And so one of the things with On Track, especially when COVID hit, was for us, fortunately, because our programs are embedded within the schools, as we were a creation of the United Way and Greenville County Schools, we were allowed to stay in the buildings, all of our interventions and so forth. And so we created On Track Greenville Mentoring because we know that a lot of you all were not allowed in the buildings. And so that gave us access with the students still. And we kind of provided that stopgap, I guess, for a while. In the midst of all of that, we came across all of the challenges that you all know in terms of recruiting mentors and so forth. And Whitney and Alicia invited me to really kind of listen to the collaborative and hear what it was all about. I immediately knew that it was something that was worth investing in terms of time, energy, efforts, and resources. We funded Public Education Partners last year to facilitate a lot of these meetings, to develop a framework for the next steps for the collaborative. That framework is really just sitting there, and Alicia has been leading a lot of it through her work and facilitating this year. But we're really looking for someone to, at least part-time, wake up and go to sleep thinking about mentoring in this county, and in a way that can bring all the organizations and keep all the organizations together on common mission to support all the students of Greenville County. Again, I think Alicia uses that coming out of the silos and moving into collaboration. It takes collective efforts and energy to move our village. And so, Alicia, I don't know if you want me to give a quick update on where we are right now or hold off.
That would be great. I think everyone has had a chance to introduce themselves.
Kenny, I believe.
Kenny, of course, you are the most important person here. So for me, Kenny, I'll just say, because I have to give Kenny real big props. So Kenny is the fire that I need many times when we are coordinating things or even this website. So I can't say enough good about Kenny. Of course, we are all doing amazing work, and I feel blessed to be in the presence of all of you. But I will say he is definitely an accountability partner. So what everybody needs. So thank you for being that, Kenny. But sorry for putting you on the spot like that.
No worries. Hopefully that's a good fire.
Absolutely.
Warms as much as anything else. So Kenny Gilliland, I was fortunate to be connected to the Mentor Club about 6 years ago. Jennifer Medlock, who's another cohort of Natalie and I, pulled us in early. She got involved, I think, when it first started, and then pulled us in for a while. And then so as part of the Mentor Upstate, we knew how important this collaborative was. And so I'm really excited to see this next phase of it, which is how do we integrate both our community partners who are mentoring, but also how do we service parents that need mentors for their children. So I think there's a disconnect that we're working through, and I love what we're doing both in the DJJ system and the communities. So just having this breadth of partnership is very exciting for me. And I think by this summer, we should have a pretty well-oiled machinery of both taking in mentees that need mentors and also distributing that amongst where they can go. So I'm super excited. So thank you for letting me be part of it.
Thank you. And Channing, welcome. I'm glad you were able to get in. We are just quickly giving introductions. So who you are and why you're here.
Hey everybody, Channing Banks, United Way, Greenville County Community Engagement Manager. Here just to really just see what has been going on. I know I heard about the Mentoring Collaborative a while ago. One of my colleagues was actually over it here at United Way a while ago, Suzanne Gardner. But I've never been directly involved with it. So just recently started talking to Alicia Brewster about it, and just interested to learn and see what's going on and see if there's any way my work can align and help out this coalition. So
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So Dr. Anderson, I think we've gotten to everybody. So yes, please do share your updates and then we'll get into our first speaker.
Absolutely. So this will be brief. So basically, as you know, about 2 years ago, when the pandemic hit, the federal government released American Rescue Act dollars to each state, and each state was then able to disseminate funding to each district. With the first round of funds that Greenville County received, they did a lot around teacher retention, teacher stipends, and so forth. The second round, they did a lot around academic efforts in terms of after-school enrichment and making sure students receive summer programming in every school and had that opportunity for the next couple of years. And in this third round, they really started reaching out to community organizations, figuring out if they could support expanding those community efforts and people who are working with their students outside of school time. And so a couple months ago, well, not 6 months ago, they started engaging with On Track Greenville and expanding a lot of the interventions that we have that work and that have been proven the most effective. What does that look like scaled out? But also what other areas do we want to target? And so fortunately, I had already been a part of this mentor collaborative for a year, and I engaged them in conversation around the impact of mentors. And so finally, last week, thank you, Alicia, for coming out to the board meeting. And anyone who wants to come out to the board meeting, please do. It's much needed. Just some rational voices to speak about the realities of what's happening in our community, or even just positive things that are happening, or just to talk about your organization so the board is aware. It can't hurt. And so Alicia did an amazing job of presenting, the current challenge in our community with the school board. And then I was able to speak a little bit about On Track. Briefly afterwards, they made a vote on whether or not they were going to expand On Track or be able to with some funding from those dollars. The motion approved. On Track has received will receive some additional funding to support and scale out a little bit, but also mentoring was wrapped up in that. And so with that, I'm working with the other senior leaders at the United Way to determine the exact ways and kind of the technical pieces of fiscal responsibility versus hiring a position to support the collaborative versus resources versus, all the things. And so I'm currently in conversation now at this level because the funding has come now. So it was all hypothetical before, it's actually here now and we're working through it. Have had a brief conversation with Alicia. And right now, she's doing an incredible job. I think that facilitation can continue with the goals set forth and developing that framework out and the way she's working. Money is here, and so we can continue to build it out, continue to work through the website, continue to host mentoring events, continue to elevate what mentoring looks like in Greenville County in the meantime, while we kind of work out the kinks on the back end. And then we can and will be able to post some sort of mentor coordinator, mentor part-time mentor director, or so forth for the collaborative that can, again, wake up and go to sleep thinking about this collaborative, how we all work together, and how we engage in this community. And so that is where we are. I think that's a deep sigh of relief that there is funding available and that we're going to be able to continue in one way or another in terms of providing those resources, establishing goals, and working towards supporting our kids. So yeah, that's my update.
Yeah, that is a big sigh of relief, I think, for everybody here to know that there is funding to keep this collaboration going. Most of us are donating our time and we'll do that for sure, but it's always good to be able to have funding behind what you're doing to be able to put some structure and longevity and sustainability to be created as part of what we're doing. So thank you so much, Dr. Anderson, for advocating and for ensuring that the Mentoring Collaborative was a part of those conversations. And with that, we are going to ask Tiffany to share about Unite Us. So you may remember if you were here last week, last month, Tiffany introduced herself, told us about a platform that is currently available for free to social service organizations like mentoring organizations, but also many other organizations. So Tiffany's going to talk to us about how we might be able to incorporate the closed loop system that they have developed into our mentoring collaborative to be able to quickly assign or get the resources, the appropriate resources to youth and families, and to ensure that kids are not falling through the gaps. So Tiffany, I will make you a co-host so that you can share your screen if you would like.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, let's see here. Okay, can everybody see my screen okay? Perfect. Okay. So again, my name is Tiffany Crooks, and I am a community engagement manager with Unite Us. I live here in Greenville, support the upstate region for our state. And just to give a little bit of background quickly about Unite Us and who we are as an organization, we were founded in 2013 by two veterans, Dan Brillman and Taylor Justice, who were transitioning from the military active duty lifestyle back into the civilian world. And they were recognizing at that time that it was very challenging for veterans to get connected to the most appropriate services and resources in the community. So they put their heads together, they founded Unite Us, which was really a tool and a means for more collaboration within communities for those veterans to seek those services and get connected in the most efficient way. Then they quickly realized that more people than just veterans, right, have these same struggles and issues in the community, and they lack the ability or the knowledge sometimes to know who to go, when and where, and how to get connected. So then their scope, changed at that point in time. Unite Us became more of a community-wide community approach initiative. And right now we are in about 47 states. South Carolina just recently launched the Unite South Carolina Network back in October, this past fall. And so we are right at about 140 organizations statewide that have joined the network. So essentially, to Alicia's point, we work within communities to, I guess, lift up would be the appropriate term, all those partners. So if you're a nonprofit, if you're a community-based organization, if you're a collaborative, a library, a school district, any type of entity that's already providing a service or resource to the community, we help to lift you all up by offering the actually one and only closed loop referral system. And so what that looks like, I'll move through my slides here, is that we're helping to better bridge, I would say, healthcare and social care within communities, right? And so we know that within every community, there are different types of landscape agencies that have different focuses. And we are working at Unite Us to really bring the attention to social care to meet the same level that healthcare oftentimes gets within communities, right? And so when we look at a person's overall well-being, how they're faring essentially in the community, it's made up of just more, it's made up of more than just their physical health needs. Like, did you go see your primary care doctor? Did you go to the ER when you had a medical emergency? What are all those social care factors that are plaguing a lot of people day in and day out? Do they have housing? Do they have food? Do they have mentoring services if that is needed? And so we're really working to bridge the gap between those healthcare and social care organizations within our communities. This particular slide just quickly highlights what I mentioned a little bit before about the different types of landscape of services that exist. So we typically have community-based organizations, hospital associations, as well as governmental offices. And so each of them oftentimes can work in a very siloed manner. I think I heard someone throw out that silo word earlier. Not oftentimes intentionally that's the case, but it's the way it is. Organizations can get really bogged down and focused on their work, their people, what they do day in and day out. And it can be sometimes challenging for them to know, how do I connect this person to the most appropriate service and resource? How do I follow up to know that this person actually got that need met? And then what's the outcome on the back end, and being able to track all of that data. And so Unite Us offers this social solution essentially at no cost to community-based organizations, so that they have the ability to be more in the know about what the needs are for their people that they're serving, that they can get them connected to those resources. They can see on the back end, what the status of that referral was. They know exactly who to communicate with at that receiving agency that got the referral for that individual, and then as well the outcomes and the data on the back end as well. And so you'll see on the right-hand side, we identify this as Miss Rosa. Now she's in a community where each of these organizations are all a part of the network, essentially. They're all in the know. They can tell that they're all working to support Miss Rosa, so that we can help try to break down, again, some of these silos that exist within communities and organizations. And so specifically thinking about the Greenville Mentoring Collaborative, as each of you work so diligently day in and day out with your focus, and how do we help bring more attention and awareness to your mentoring services that you're offering. But then on the flip side, how do we help support you all in the Mentoring Collaborative when you do identify additional needs for your youth and families that you're supporting, needs that you don't actually offer, you can't actually provide the support within your realm, but you want to get them connected most appropriately to other community services and providers. And so Unitas is an option, for you all to be able to take that on and be able to more collaboratively get those people connected to the resources that they need. I know Alicia and I have talked a couple of times on the phone, like what that would look like kind of from like a workflow planning perspective. And so, we do have a couple of different options where we could onboard the collaborative just, as one single entity. I know as you all are talking and having conversations about, potentially hiring someone to kind of fill that coordinator or a director role, what that would look like. That could be a responsibility that might fall on, for that person if they have the capacity to maintain that. So just to give you an example, if a incoming referral comes into the platform directly to the collaborative, that individual person would be able to then link that referral up to the most appropriate mentoring agency that's also a part of the collaborative, so that person can get connected to the services and resources. We also have an option where we could onboard each of the each of the agencies that are part of the collaborative. We could onboard them individually, but that all of you all would kind of share within the same data network for the collaborative as a whole. So I'm happy to have like additional conversations as needed to kind of talk through a little bit more what that workflow planning would look like. But overall, wanted to, be able to share with you all today that Unitas is, around, we're here, and we are working to build out the Unite South Carolina network, and most importantly, help address the needs for the residents in South Carolina. A lot of times people who fall in that vulnerable category, in those vulnerable populations. So that is all that I have for right now. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you. And we'll give everyone an opportunity to ask questions for a few minutes. As you may remember from conversations, one of the value adds that we feel that the Mentoring Collaborative to be truly an organization, the go-to organization for Greenville County families and those who care about youth, is that we need a way to ensure that people are getting to the resources that they need. And it needs to be as efficient as possible, because we know that parents, in particular, individuals who are already in crisis mode, they need to be able to get to resources quickly. And we want to make sure that they don't get hung up in a system that is not able to provide that efficiency for them. So thank you, Tiffany, for presenting. So we do have time for questions.
Yes, any questions?
Hi, this is Kenny. Is there an active site for that information that you currently have for South Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll drop our South Carolina network website in the chat, and I will also drop the main website for Unitas, because we are a national organization. So I'll drop that in the chat as well. And then I'll link my email and phone number for anyone who would, maybe like to have a separate conversation or have additional questions that you may not want to ask right now during the meeting.
Great. And just a second thought, since this is national, is this something that's local to the upstate? So if I'm looking for a mentor organization, does it draw up a local arena, or do I just put the information in and it gets done in the background? Tell me how that works a little bit.
Absolutely. Great question. So the Unite South Carolina Network, when we launched back in October, we were onboarding organizations specifically across the entire state of South Carolina. So for example, right now, if you were to be seeking out a mentoring service and you logged into the platform, you put in maybe the client's address and some basic demographic information about them, then the platform would be able to give you any mentoring resource. It's going to automatically default to a 50-mile radius, but you're able to filter that to something that's 100 miles or 200 miles out if you wanted something that far, or, even down to 1 mile if the person had trouble with transportation and really needed to, walk or bike to a particular service or resource. We have, as each of the states that are in the network, our national effort is working to bridge all of the states together, essentially. And so South Carolina, within the Unite Us realm, has just kind of branched into Unite Us East. And so what that means is that now when our partners that are in the network log in to look for potential service or resource, you will be able to have the privilege to see maybe a service that's in Georgia, or Tennessee, or North Carolina, even depending on where people, fall within the South Carolina line. If they're right on the border and they might be moving or relocating, you can really help them, help better connect them to something that's not really falls directly within South Carolina state lines. Did I answer your question? I think you're on mute.
Yes, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just going to walk in as a parent. So if I'm a parent, I go on the site, I put in the information about my address, my student, whatever that is. Then that gives me a return of organizations that may be at the service, what I'm doing.
So the platform itself is right now, it's specifically for providers. So the parents themselves would not necessarily, they are not able to log into the platform. So when we talk about how do we better, coordinate collaborative efforts between agencies, organizations, and providers, the Unite Us platform is that tool for them to be able to use. Now, we do have a feature called an assistance request form. And Alicia, you and I talked a little bit about this last week on the phone, but this assistance request form, what we could do is we could have that form embedded into the Greenville Mentoring Collaborative website. Parents could then go to the website, click on that assistance request form, put in some quick demographics and specify what the need is, if it's a mentoring need or a service of some sort. When they click submit, that assistance request form would automatically filter back into the Mentoring Collaborative's platform page. So if it's the director that you all hire or the coordinator, or if there's a specific, staff designated at each of the different mentoring agencies that have access to the platform as well, when you all log in, you will see those assistance requests that are funneling in from a family member or parent or someone that they've completed directly from your website. And then now it's sitting there in your platform when you log into Unite Us, and then you can take action on it from there and follow up with the family. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That was a great question, though.
And I do have one more question, Tiffany. As far as the assistance form is concerned, from the description you just shared, you're specifically talking about them wanting assistance with mentoring, but if they also need assistance with, let's say, food or with, mental health services, would that assistance form cover those things and then they be connected to those services, or how do they get triaged where they need to go?
Great question. So if they go specifically to the assistance request form that's on your website, it's going to link back to your organization. And then when you reach out to the family, like let's say they have double needs, right? Maybe it's a mentoring need, but they also have like a food insecurity need. When you all reach out to them from the mentoring perspective and dig a little deeper in the conversation, and they, elaborate maybe more into that particular food insecurity need, then you could use the referral platform to refer them to a food provider in the community. And they would be linked up from that way. The assistance request form we can tailor it to different organizations. So I just gave you all an example of if we had that link embedded on your website. But there are other organizations that are also interested in having an assistance request form of some sort embedded on their website. We're also able to get those assistance request forms like in a QR code. And we've been having conversations as a team now that summer is quickly approaching, like we need to get these to local libraries and some youth centers and things like that. So a family can just pick up, a quick little brochure, a little flyer that has the code on it. They can scan it, fill out the assistance request form, and then our platform will route them to the most appropriate resource based on what they notated in the assistance request form.
Tiffany, this is great. Edward here. I have a question about, two questions kind of, one about data. So we collect data very heavily, and I know all the other organizations do too at some level. So if we have referrals coming in, assistance help coming in and so forth, would we have access to a report of some sort? Will we be able to run those so that we can then upload it back into our systems if we have other ones, right? Or, like what can we do with the data?
Absolutely, great question. I'm going to share my screen again really quickly to kind of go along to your question, Edward. So Unite Us doesn't own the data. I want to say that we don't own the data. The organizations actually own their own data. So as you all are inputting clients into your specific, platform page, as you're connecting them to different resources, as you're receiving incoming referrals and taking action on those referrals, all that data essentially is owned by you. Each organization, depending on the staff that has the permissions to be able to pull those data, exports and things of that nature, the platform will allow you to run exported data. So you could run a report on the assessments that are completed. You can run reports on clients, all the clients that your organization has served. You can run reports even on case notes, because there is a very user-friendly case management and documentation piece that's also built into the platform, because we know a lot of organizations are trying to find ways, how do we track, our phone calls or our in-person visits or the email communications that we have with people. So the system does allow you to track that. You can run reports, run exports, and pull that data. Each organization that becomes a part of the network also will have access to the Tableau dashboards. I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with Tableau. My screen here, let's see if I can move this out of the way so it's not affecting anything. And the font's a little bit small, I do apologize, but these are just some graphics so that you can see what the Tableau dashboard would look like essentially. So you have the ability as an organization that's a part of the network to be able to look at de-identified data on particular clients that you're working with. There's a health equity dashboard that you can dive a little bit deeper in to look at maybe some trends that are overarching, not just with your clients, but also maybe clients within the Greenville community or within the upstate as a whole. You can look at some of the data points there, and you're able to pull some of that information. A lot of times we share with organizations that data means dollars, right? In a lot of ways, and really being able to have that at your fingertips is something that each organization would have access to when they become a part of the network. And again, I think I pointed out that we do recognize that every every individual or employee at an organization might not be the right person that needs to have access to certain things. So when we work to onboard organizations, collaboratives, nonprofits, school districts into the network, we are really intentional to make sure that we are giving the right user permissions to specific users so that they have access to only what they need when they're in the platform. I hope that answered your question, Edward.
Yes, thank you so much. It did.
You're welcome. And I think there may be a couple questions in the chat. Okay, Chris says this is exciting. I know we can definitely use this. Edward said agreed. Okay, I just like to check the chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. Any other questions?
I might have missed it, but is there a user fee for partner organizations? Because we use Charity Tracker, so it's often used nonprofits, government agencies, faith-based. Again, it's client-based, so we enter the client, and we don't share a lot because we're working with juveniles, so that's our client. It's not really the like the head of the household, but my question is, again, for each user, there's a fee, yearly fee that we pay in order to access that information. Does that apply for Unite Us?
So great question, Yvonne. Thank you so much. There is not a fee, and that won't ever change. So again, if you are a community-based organization, if you're a United Way, if you're a school district, a free medical clinic, library, mentoring collaborative, any entity within the community that offers a service or resource on that like smaller scale community focus, there's not a fee. And that's because we know that those are the organizations, I like to say, that are in the trenches every day doing the work. There's already enough barriers and dilemmas for those agencies to try to get people connected to resources. Money and funding is often at the top of the list as a barrier. And so that does not, it doesn't exist. It's free, it's at no cost. I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, well, where does the revenue, where does the funding come from, right? If it's free for community-based organizations. The hospital associations and then the governmental offices and entities within our state are who are and who will be the funding partners. So all the hospitals across the state, as well as like DSS, DHEC, DHHS, DMH, those are the funding partners. That mimics every other state that's also a part of the national Unite Us network efforts as well. I can say that Prisma has come on board as the first, I guess, funding partner for South Carolina as far as Unite Us is concerned. And our leadership has been having some really great conversations with Spartanburg Regional and Med, specifically in the upstate, but also in USC and Roper, St. Francis, which I think is a part of Bond Secures as well, down in the Charleston area. So I think that answers your first question, but then you also mentioned something, and then I'm going to try to be quiet because I know I'm probably taking up more time than I have, but you may note that you all typically, when you're trying to when you're working with the juveniles, you don't share a lot of information because they're minors, right? And so Unite Us holds client privacy at our #1 priority. We do also recognize that some organizations work with very sensitive type information and work with minors as well. So we are able to give certain sensitive org types if you fall in that category. So if you're an organization that provides any type of mental or behavioral health service, if you work with minors, if it's a service that falls along the lines of like a domestic violence shelter or sexual abuse trauma center. And I think also in any agencies that work to support those living with HIV or AIDS and also the LGBTQIA+ community, they're considered sensitive orgs. So information that is shared back and forth pertaining to clients within the platform is not going to be readily accessible or viewable by another organization because of that sensitive org type. You're welcome. And I think, Rebecca, you may have had a question. I'm not sure.
No, that kind of answered my question. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for being with us. And there's definitely a lot of interest, and we need a system, again, that'll help us with the efficiency of getting people where they need to go. That's why we're here. So with that, I am going to ask Mark Caligaris, who came in a little bit after we started, to share an update. I know many of you are wondering about what's going on with the Juvenile Detention Center. And after Mark shares, then I'm going to ask Channing, and I'll make you a co-host as well, to share about the iMapping program or project, and how we might be able to benefit or help contribute to mapping out those resources in our community.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Mark Caligaris, and I run the programming at the Juvenile Detention Center downtown. Now, last week, we temporarily closed our facility. And why did we do that? Well, we had a great need for officers in our adult facility. We're the largest adult corrections detention facility in the state, and we were down a lot of officers. And in order to keep things safe and secure in our adult facility, they had to temporarily close us and move our officers full-time over to our adult facility. So where does that put me? That puts me in the recruiting and retention field right now for our adult facilities. So I'll be working to get more people in and retaining the people that we have, so that we can reopen our juvenile facility as soon as possible. Now, as far as mentoring goes, I've kind of been with the Mentoring Collaborative since the beginning, because I know the need for people to stand with our kids. At least in the juvenile detention facility, most of our kids come from single parent households without men. They're mostly run by women. And there's a great need for somebody to stand with them that believes in them and can give them guidance. We've seen success in that. In fact, we started working with Lead Collective's REACH program, which was specifically coming in to serve our kids on Mondays and Thursdays, and to set up a relationship that could then be transported back to when they went home. So they would have a mentor for a year, and then we closed down 4 or 5 months into the program. So we're still excited about our kids. Our kids have been moved to Columbia, so where there is the detention center down there is open. So that's about it, but still a strong advocate for mentoring. Any questions?
So Mark, what you're saying to us is we need to reduce the number of young people who are being funneled into that system, so that we don't need as many people there to work, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen with, our numbers have gone down from 700 to 800 a year to between 300 and 500 with COVID. But our kids need support, and they need support out in the communities, so that they don't do crimes that result in their being incarcerated. So really, the more mentors we can get out into the communities to prevent them from coming to us, the better. So yes, sorry, I am advocating strongly for mentors in the communities.
Thank you, Mark. And I think Channing is going to share with us another way that we can strengthen the support that we provide to family by way of resources, because we do know that one of the things that leads to people participating in criminal activity is lack of resources that they need. So thank you, Channing, for being here.
Yeah, no problem at all. Once again, Channing Banks, United Way, Greenville County. I'm a community engagement manager. So one of the responsibilities that the department that I serve on, which is community impact, has is making sure that people are connected to resources. So I'm about to show you a couple of tools that are accessible to you for you to get online and look for services. If you come across young people, or if you come across parents, or whatever you're doing, whatever your network is, you can refer them to these sources. And some of you may already know about these, so this will be a little refresher. And some of you may not, but then there also is some opportunities to kind of make it more robust, to where we can get some more updated information, and I can get some feedback from you all on just at first glance, some things you feel like will make it a little easier, maybe it's for people to find mentoring services. across Greenville County. So I'm gonna share my screen here. Hold on a second. Yes, okay. I gotta hit the share button. There we go. Okay, can everybody see this map, the IMAP? I said, okay. So like I said, some of you are probably familiar with this. This is what we call IMAP. This is basically a website that individuals can go on and they can search for many services across Greenville County. So what you're looking at here is actually an outline of Greenville County, and trying to, for the sake of time and to keep it relevant to your group, if I were on here and I really wanted some mentoring services for my child, you know, I'd come on here and I don't know anything about it. Common sense will tell me, okay, resources, children and parenting. Okay, mentoring organizations probably fall under there. So I would click down on that. And what I see here is childcare, after school program, and parenting. So like we click the parenting link, we see a handful of agencies pop up on here. So we have like a Child's Haven, we have you know, Little Steps, we have Julie Valentine Center. Those are just a few that pop up in that category, but those are really support for actual like parenting skills and getting early childhood development and trauma. Not really, they don't really have mentoring programs, so to speak. And same thing, after school programs, if we filter for those, there might be some mentoring programs kind of in here at Stonebridge Community Center, Neighborhood Focus, a good after school program, but it's specifically after school program. So that implies someone looking at it that this is a place where my child can go after school and they'll be taken care of. And they'll be getting some type of, you know, some enrichment. They'll be learning, they'll be able to socialize, and they're not just sitting around, you know, unsupervised or not really getting any fulfillment. And then we have here childcare as well, which, you know, childcare is where can I take my child to be during the day, they'll be taken care of while I go to work or do all the adult business. And it's typically for like younger kids that are not old enough to be in school. So I just wanted to point this out, that this is a really big resource that at United Way, we really want people to go towards. It was actually a collaborative effort, I believe, between the hospital, Prisma, United Way, and Furman University, actually. So in regards to this group, when I was on here looking around, I don't see any specific categories that pertain to mentoring at all. So I feel as though that's an opportunity. So I'm actually on the steering committee or the planning committee. We meet quarterly for the IMAP. And typically they go over requests for people being added to the map, any glitches or issues we have with it and anything like that. So I guess I want to ask the group with this resource, do you think it'd be beneficial to have maybe a category under children and parenting specifically for mentoring? Or do you think that mentoring organizations could fall under one of these three categories that that you're able to see right here on my screen under children and parenting?
I vote that it has its own space. Mentoring is very specific, and when people want it, they want it. And they want to be able to just see and click and go. So that's just my opinion on how it would look if it were in IMAP.
Okay.
That was my initial thought too, is that is, I think, a different category.
Yeah, me too. Okay.
Well, there is a after school program that doesn't have mentoring. So I know most of the ones that we're connected to all do mentoring as well, but there are other after school programs that's strictly kind of an educational versus a mentoring piece.
True.
Yeah,
And you know that working in the space, but like I'm coming in here, like from the perspective, I'm just a regular parent on the street. I go to a resource fair, like Grace Church has like a single parent night, or I might pass somebody a card that says IMAP and they sit down and do this. Oh, I want to find some mentoring programs. They're not going to find it on here. And if they look at after school programs, some of them might think, well, maybe, but there's nothing. Even when you click on one of these, it really doesn't. Well, you can go to the website and see, but you know, people, I think, want to see Oh, mentoring, good. That's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So
Would it be possible for the after school programs that are doing mentoring to be listed under that mentoring group as well?
yes, so you saying like having a separate subcategory under after school and for ones that do mentoring, or having mentoring as a separate program and then have after school programs that do it as well?
Yeah, so having mentoring as another little drop down, and then the after school programs that do provide mentoring, just
gotcha,
having it
okay.
under there as well.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Channing,
Yeah.
just a comment.
Uh-huh.
Is there, if I was a teen, the idea of mentoring, I'm such an advocate of mentoring, but on a formal thing, if we could call it like life coaching, so that it's more of a we work together for results. Mentoring is kind of a top down, and in some instances it could be negative. I'm just saying, and then you have, because parents need life coaching as well.
Yeah.
Because mentoring is a family issue. It's not just a child issue. So just, and how do we word it? Life coaching / mentoring, maybe. So they kind of get more of a, because it's really, we're working together toward a common goal. And it's normally we work with the children's goals and try to help them reach their goals, as opposed to us coming in saying, you need to do A, B, and C. That doesn't work.
Hey, that's a very good point.
That's just something I think the group we should think about is, like life coaching / mentoring, because some people will know it as mentoring, and there will be some people who will be intimidated, or, because teenagers, for example, think they know it all.
Yeah, true.
But, we all know that, I played sports. My coach was kind of my mentor, but I didn't feel like he was, telling me what to do. Well, he was telling me what to do, but I didn't feel like he was telling me. I think I've said enough. Sorry.
I see what you're saying. No. I follow what you're saying. I agree. I didn't think of that. That's a good point, especially not only from a teenager, but from a parenting perspective. I would think you look at mentoring, you automatically associate that with children, but you're right. There's like, for example, the Circles program at Share. I kind of look at that. I don't know how they would feel specifically in the program. I kind of look at that as life coaching. I mean, you have an individual that is surrounded by people that they're going to learn from, and it's going to be like a support group for them to, improve their lives and be the best version of themselves. So maybe it's something like that, or, so yeah, that's a very good point. That's another thing I can bring up. Good.
My only comment or thought about the life coaching piece is that is a field that comes with certifications, and so it's we may not want to call something that life coaching if it's not technically life coaching, but that's just my limited knowledge about life coaching and that field, which seems to be a really growing and interesting field of study.
And that's a good point too. So yeah, you need certain things which you don't need typically for a mentor, and maybe there's some wordplay there. Maybe it's life guidance. Maybe it is a separate little drop down because it is children / parenting. So so I don't know. Something definitely to explore. We can definitely open up the conversation and talk to Furman about it and see how they feel about that as well. But at the very least, I think having a mentoring tab here would be beneficial to the collaborative. And the next site I want to show, some of y'all might be familiar, some of y'all may not be, and I can share the link for these in the chats if y'all would like me to, in case y'all aren't familiar with them. The next one is the SC211. Can y'all see the SC211 website now? Is it still sharing this? Okay, good. This is sc211.org. This is a work in progress. I'm actually working closely on this with the state association who manages it. And actually just pulled up an email I got from one of the representatives the other day. I'm trying to make an actual physical community resource guide. So for this meeting, I was thinking same thing. If I'm a parent, if I get on this website, if I get on the resource guide, and I'm thinking mentoring, like everyday people think, will I be able to find it? So even when people come to this website off the jump, come on here, help starts here. And you see here, there's an opportunity for them to get specific kind of targeted areas where they want to search. So let's say I just want to do, I live in Greenville County. Let me say I just want to search. I got a car. I'm okay to go to a mentoring, take my kids to mentoring all over the county. So I just put Greenville County. And then I look at these topics here, and we don't have a specific mentoring topic, but according to our state association, it would fall under 2 categories technically. So one is the children and maternity services. So you would click on this, and then you see here it says programs for kids. You would click on this, and here it gets a little tricky. So my computer's slow, forgive me. A little old work computer. She did a refresh. I gotta get a new one though. So yeah, here we go. Problem is with this, okay, like, so when it comes up, it has like these crazy addresses like Milwaukee and stuff like that. So most people are gonna be like, what in the world? And I'm gonna adjust this with 211. But typically, just for you to know right now, when it comes to this and you see like crazy addresses like Greenwood's not, yeah, I don't believe that's Greenville County and Milwaukee and all that. So come back up here and just put add a zip code. And then what I do is like, okay, I do the zip code I live in, 29617. And then I kind of narrow it down a little more to like 30 miles of zip code, and then list by location. And this is actually going to filter those organization results a little more specifically, give it a chance to load, and then you'll see what you're looking for. Hang on 1 minute. Spinning. Okay, there we go. So here we have organizations that are serving, programs for kids basically. And in Greenville County, within 30 miles of the zip code that I put in, 29617. So we have like youth base, and here they have a little description of what they do, youth enrichment, tutoring. And then we go down here, where was the one? Here we go. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of the Upstate here. Agency provides mentoring programs. So they have like just kid programs in general, all kind of lumped in to this one section. So, you have to kind of go down and see and look at the little short description and see if it includes mentoring. City of Greenville Parks and Rec, youth enrichment programs, that may or may not mean mentoring. So it's not very, once again, specific for someone looking for mentoring. You kind of have to just go through, and there's 33 results. There is a way, I believe, you can just do like just a regular search. You can search the word mentoring and maybe narrow it down. I can confirm that and see if that's the case. Yeah, so any of these words, I'm gonna put just mentoring in and see, and then, like I said, I like doing 50, that's a little far out. Like 50 miles for me is like almost North Carolina in my address, or my zip code. Let me see. I don't think you have to fill all these out. Let me just try to search like this. Yeah, same thing. Okay. So yeah, or the parent looking could do that. You can go to an advanced search, type in mentoring, and then it's going to basically pull up the agencies within the location radius you've identified that all have like the word mentoring in the description somewhere, or even in the name. So yes, so we got like Momentum Bike Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Pleasant Valley. So that's yeah, mentoring programs, Phyllis Wheatley. So that's an example. So those are two tools that are out there that are front facing, that everyday people in the community can get on and look for your programs in regards to mentoring. Or if you come across people, or if you're in your network, you're trying to find some other programs maybe to collaborate with, or just to direct people to. Maybe your program's filled up or something, or you work with an agency and you have some young people and you want them to get connected. This is a way for you to do it. So this is probably the best way to do it, is doing that keyword search. So I wanted to bring this up and just show all of you, if you're not on this website and you want to make sure your agency is included, and you want to make sure your information is up to date and accurate if you're already on here, or both, on the home screen when you come to this website, all you simply got to do on the right side here where you see this box of options, all you do is click how to edit your agency. And so I encourage all you to get on here and play around. If your agency is not on here, please put it on here and make sure, you know, mentoring is in, you know, your description, and it just goes to like a PDF of instructions on how to do it. And Caleb is the one you contact. He's the one that I've been working with on things like this. So that's it. So yeah, that's my big message with this is I want to show y'all this is something that you can use, parents can use, you know, faith leaders, whatever, neighborhood associations. And it's best if you do that advanced word search if you're looking specifically for mentoring. But everybody in the mentoring collaborative really needs to make sure that their agency is on here. It is represented. The description is true to what the organization is doing. And they go on periodically and they update that information as much as they can. And this has been like a struggle, I'll be honest with you, with different agencies, even like funded partners. I think this last time around, we actually even made it part of the process for the year-end reporting that was part of like the reporting, literally to go on here and make sure your information was up to date. So yeah, Dad, we got to go to some extent sometimes, big extent to get people to do that. So it is really important. And I want to show you all those two things, and I can add the links in the chat. And does anyone have any questions or comments? Any of those? Very cool. Let me add these.
So Channing, this is Mark. I have a question.
Yeah.
Are there any associations that have a link, for example, when we get a website that's robust, if we had your link and we already had it programmed to go to mentoring, all they had to do is put their zip code in. And then it would list all the mentoring organizations within 30 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody doing that? So it's kind of hardwired already, making it easy for the parent who might come into the Mentoring Collaborative's website?
Oh, are you saying like from the Mentoring Collaborative's website, can they go to this?
Yeah, if somebody comes onto our website and they're looking for a mentoring organization, we can list it, but if we can link to your IMAP, they can just put in zip code, but we can have it hardwired to make it really easy for them.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I can ask Caleb. I can ask them. That's some technical stuff on their end. If they can, I don't know.
Jump in a quick question. So basically when you did all the search parameters, like that's exactly what we should do is go ahead and do the mentoring search parameters within 50 miles. Yeah. And that string is actually in your URL and we could hard code that into our site. So
no, there's an option. Yeah, you could probably do that. Yeah.
So
so you hear that, Mark? So you could probably, like Kenny's saying, you could probably go ahead and do that on your end. And then you can embed that link to that, like you do the search, like just all of Greenville County or whatever. And then you embed that link on your website. So yeah, that's easy. So when parents, that's a good idea, Mark, like parents click on it and it goes right to the listing of just Greenville County mentoring organizations. So they don't have to do all that running around on the 211 site. That's a good idea, yeah. You try that and see, and if not, let's get together and try to work with the state association to see if what we can do.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so we have some to-dos. One, if we are not already a part of the 211 listing and we provide services to make sure that we go complete the document that's needed. And then of course, Channing is going to follow up with a couple of the IMAP questions that we had. And of course, there was a lot of appetite for continuing to explore how we could utilize the closed loop referral system that Tiffany shared with us, Unite Us. And finally, of course, the membership form. If you have not, while you've been here, completed that membership form, please do make sure that you complete the membership form. We're using that to be able to populate our list of partners on the website, but we also just want to be able to share information about what our stakeholders are offering, as well as kind of the current status of the support that's offered in our community. Is anybody else having trouble with the Google form? Does anyone have, are you able to click on that link and complete the form? Or I know
I was able to do it.
You were able to do it, Natalie?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So it might just be, I'm not sure what that might be. So you do have to use Google, I believe. You have to be signed into a Google account to use a Google form, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I am
I
having some difficulty. I'm signed in to Google. It just keeps giving me a error prompt saying that I must be signed in, but I am signed in. So I don't know why it's doing that.
Yes, Alicia, that's if you do instead of asking for email, I think it probably has the collect emails, and that collect emails causes a lot of this problem. So maybe we could go back and fix that form just to put an email slot where they just add their email. That might solve a lot of your problems.
Instead of checking off collect, so take off, uncheck collect emails is what you're saying?
And then put
Okay,
another field that just says email, and they could just type it in.
Okay, I will go back and do that. Okay, well, we are right on time. Well, not right on time. We're about 5 minutes behind, but that's okay. So at this time, we have a few minutes just to do any round robin partner announcements. I do want to share something, maybe I spoke too soon. So our website, of course, is live. We are going to do a more formal launch very soon once I think we feel really good about where it is. But I do want to make sure that you all know and are following and are sharing our Facebook page. The events, our meetings, and the link to be able to get to our meetings will be posted here. Also, as an organization, a partner organization, you can share about things that you are doing here. But we, as we launch our website, also need to be making our social media presence a little more known so that we can kind of help to support both the website and the social media so that people are following and watching what we're doing, but also so that we can help promote each of the members and other organizations that are doing the supportive work of serving our youth. And of course, as a reminder, greenvillementoring.org, if you haven't had a chance to take a look. A lot of props go to Kenny. I've done a lot of the verbiage, so I'd love for you to read through verbiage and give feedback on what you think about the verbiage, but definitely huge props to Kenny on that. So I will stop now, and we have 10 minutes for any sharing. I'm noticing a lot of people aren't here today. I don't know what may have been the barrier for today's meeting, but please make sure that you share with other people. Natalie, do you want to talk about the April meeting and your topic?
Yes. I'm sorry, my screen was up here. So as I mentioned previously, I am a graduate program for clinical mental health counseling. In addition to that, one of my children was adopted from foster care. So prior to this program, just the process of becoming licensed to foster and then becoming an adoptive parent, I had a strong interest in a lot of learning in trauma, how that impacts mental health, and specifically what happens in the brain when children experience trauma. And I've found that really overlaps a lot when I'm talking with mentors. Like a number one thing I will hear is, I don't really know that, I don't really feel like the kids appreciates me or something like that. I mean, I'm saying that a little more negative than it sounds, but like, I don't really know this is working. I don't feel like they really want me there. Well, they probably don't, because they've never had healthy attachments in their life, and they literally are not able to communicate to you what you're wanting to receive from them. And so stuff like that. I have noticed there is such an overlap that mentors aren't counselors, and they aren't supposed to have all of this information. However, there's some basic stuff that I feel like would be really helpful just for mentors to know, just literally about the brain and trauma and the impacts on relationships. And so April or May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month, but next month I'm gonna kind of talk on that. And just how mental health and trauma, how that impacts mentoring relationships.
Great.
Thank you, Natalie, for sharing. I'm hoping we'll be in person, and I don't know, Natalie, if you would be able to be in person, but that's okay because we could have it streamed. But I think that may be why maybe the crowd is getting a little lower. Maybe people want to be in person again. I can confirm, but hopefully we'll be able to head back to United Way to our room so we have the ability to use the screen and have people zoom in a lot more easily there. Anything else before we close out? Well, if not, then I guess we'll close out a little early today. Thank you so much for joining. And please, again, share. The next meeting is April 13th. Also, don't forget about the school board meetings. They are always the fourth Tuesday of the month at 7, I believe. I will make sure I send that in an email.
Great, thank you.
Take care.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing.